Hi Tamara, hi classmates. Today I'm gonna try to drive you smoothly to one of the lectures that we read for this semester that was in the second half. So I know that it has been really hard, but this is one of our last shots. So I hope this is helpful for you. And I'm gonna ask you to go and find our book and find the article presented by Mariam, Georgis, and Nicole Lugosi that is called Reinserting Race and Indigeneity in International Relations Theory, a post-colonial approach. So this article was published in 2013 and I found it really interesting, and I'm gonna try to show you why it was interesting for me. So we're gonna try to I'm gonna try to make it easy for you, and I'm gonna answer 5 questions. So in these 5 questions, I hope you could understand the reading. So the first question: what problem or issue is the author focusing on? Second one: what argument is the author making? Third one: how does the author make that argument? Which steps? So that means we're gonna find the roadmap, and then the fourth one is: what ontological assumptions does the author make? With which kind of ideas or things or beliefs does the author make to state that argument? And the fifth one, I'm gonna try to find anything that I found important or something that caught my attention as a critical concept or something like that. So please, you're gonna go to the page 71, and right here in the very first paragraph, we're gonna find the problem. So the problem in this paper is that race and indigeneity have been missing from the great debates of IR. They are elicited through a series of ontological and epistemological maneuvers that draw the boundaries of IR. So post-colonial is driven to the peripheries of the discipline. So that is the problem, and therefore in the sequencing page, right there, we are gonna find the thesis statement. And the thesis statement, the thesis statement is right here in the page 72. So in the second paragraph right here, we're gonna find the thesis. So please read with me. In this paper, we employ an IR post-colonial perspective, using the example of sex trafficking to demonstrate how the field of IR remains silent on its own colonial legacy, with a wider aim of thinking about the implications that omission has for the discipline. So if you keep reading, there's the roadmap that is here in the third paragraph. So here you can find the roadmap. So the roadmap states that the argument unfolds first by providing a literature review of how the issue of sex trafficking is largely understood within various disciplines. Next, the paper considers IR as a self-legacy discipline and what that means for IR knowledge production. More simply, we ask what is missing from the discipline and why we should care. This is followed by a discussion of sex trafficking in Canada and the US through a post-colonial lens to exemplify the impoverishment of IR through its explosion of certain issues. Something that caught my attention here, so we're kind of answer the fifth question, is the goal or the way that the author justify the argument. So or their goal in the work is to disrupt the taken for granted boundaries of the field of IR and the knowledge bodies that it produces. That is important for IR because it reveals that what qualifies as legitimate knowledge and research is not natural, but situated in a specific time, space, and place along gendered, racial, and class lines. In this way, we can strive toward a more diverse discipline with an emancipatory vision for the political geared toward meaningful change. So that was important for me. So now what I'm gonna try to do is kind of like, now that we already answered the first, the second, and also the third question, and kind of like the fifth one, we're gonna try to find some of the arguments that the authors made in each subtitle. So first, let's go to the page 73 right here, and let's look for the subtitle "Sex Trafficking as an IR Question," and we're gonna see how um, how important it is, the argument that is presented by the author. So they say that sex traffic is an IR question in spite, even though if it is not visualized, or even though if it is invisibilized within the IR discipline. And because, so here the argument is constructed by stating that there's a call to broader notions of security in IR. The call for an expanded definition of security is silent and could also include a topic such as sex trafficking. And I completely agree with it, because sex traffic, guys, is a really big deal. Like, we cannot ignore that. We should stop talking about like the same kind of stuff and talking about like trending topics and like important topics like this one, because women, we are being, like, most of the victims of sex trafficking is us, the ones like we uh this problem has like a lot of issues, you can attend the problem from like a lot different approaches. Like, one of those is human rights and how they are they violate our rights as a woman, just as a human being, because they threaten our lives. If you're a part of like one of those groups, then obviously this idea of like something that threatens our life or well-being, it involves or in compromise security, and um, and obviously it also, and if it is a security for the security just for the individual, it also represents security problems for the state that holds those individuals. Like, for example, like say Bangkok or Thailand or one of those countries, or the Philippines that has those problems. And it also it is like a national or like a national threat or a security threat for the country. It also has an impact on the international community, and therefore it will also have an impact in the economy of the country, because these huge mafias um, calls the attention for the black market, where you can sell drugs or arms or you can falsify money. It all becomes like a really big deal. Therefore, and we can jump to the page 75, and we're gonna find the IR as silencing discipline, and the argument in international relations is silent on the questions of race and indigeneity. It also actively silences with its epistemological assumptions that are largely taken for granted, and the ontologies these produce that are seen as legitimate and, more importantly, as universal knowledge. So the authors construct the argument, uh, and they show us 3 points. So they say that there exists an historical erasure of imperialism, therefore the hegemonic Western voice that produce false universalism, and third, how indigenous people are not considered to be constructed in legitimate political communities. So in this page 75, let's find I find like a really interesting quote. The stories of the regions of IR are not linked to imperialism, rendering to the most violent moment of IR absent from this story, which is really important. Therefore, which another quote that I really like is how this hegemonic um, is like part of our, like the West is part of our sense, also part of our common sense, the things we take for granted or know so well that we no longer question or critically examine them. So is we kind of like make a stereotype, we kind of like make a base, and we already have like our conception of knowledge and we don't know anything else about it. So it keeps like excluding all other kind of like a new theories. Another interesting quote that I found, but now we have to go to page 76, is that the most basic level or neglect of indigenous people in IR is a reflection of our uncritical acceptance of one of the most fundamental ideas of settled state colonialism. The idea that indigenous peoples do not constitute authentic or legitimate political communities, which is like we keep excluding them for everything we do, from everything we treat. So now I wanna take you to the third subtitle. Is we can find it in the page 77, and is the implications for knowledge production in IR. So the argument is it comes from a Western methodology. It has the creation of knowledge has been monopolized in just one sector in IR, and it draws like distinctions between what is legitimate and what is illegitimate. So also the argument is constructed in 3 different parts. We have like we make in the first one they make like a kind of like a comparative political, like they kind of like compare the political studies, and they talk about what is modernization theory, and also they kind of like make a relation of what is like the indigenous and people in societies, and how this have had an interesting backward, this respective backward for indigenous people, and how this has been considered like as illogical or unscientific. Therefore, the second statement is like how critical theory or feminism or globalization studies, those are one of the fields that they are not in a privileged position in the Western Academy. That's kind of like complicated, and is one of the parts that I rescue the most, and I completely agree. And then the third one is how the objectivity of this scientific and Western like stereotype is settled, and how they are being legitimate with how their discourses has kind of like a shape the way we see the world and how we analyze it. So I found really interesting that that subtitle. Therefore, we're gonna jump to page 80, and we're gonna talk about we're gonna jump to page 79, which talks about sex trafficking from a post-colonial perspective. So the argument of as like um the case of a study about sex trafficking is kind of like is good because there are like these links, like for example, one of the quotes that I like really like is like first one, it rejects the that you're finding in page 80. It rejects the production of the discourse that women in sex trafficking are victims with no agency that ought to be saved by people from the developed world, and therefore the second one, it is like it is attentive not only to the victims of sex trafficking but also to the demand side of the issue. Therefore, obviously, if there were like if even though if we have a problem of sex trafficking, it wouldn't be that huge if there would not be demand that ask for those women, and how post-colonialism approach kind of like address this problem, which is really cool. And then how kind of like there's a statement about females vulnerabilities in isolation to race, and they kind of like um evaluate the experience of wealthy urban Caucasian women, and how that is like kind of like different from how is the life for the women who live in like kind of like in the third world conditions, how that's the kind of like word that the authors use, which I kind of like. I don't call ourselves kind of, that we live in the third world. We might be not like developed as the other countries, but still we're not kind of like any third or second or whatever world they want to call us. So yeah, thank God we're almost done, and we're gonna come to the concluding marks right here. Also, where you can find those on page 82, and for me, basically, there are just two important points that I want to share with you. First, you will find this on page 82, and I'm gonna read it with you. The unveiling of the fact that while indigenous peoples and the racialized order appear to be absent from the IR theory, conventional ideas regarding their inherent inferiority are in fact embedded with knowledge in the discipline. And the second one is evidencing that positivism is not inherently more scientific or legitimate than other knowledge producing approaches. It has just been socially constructed as such as through the power and privilege that geographical centers hold. So kind of that's kind of like a true. And basically, guys, that was the how the central concept of the paper was to show how the field of IR kind of like still remains silent on its colonial legacy, and that's something that we should talk about and kind of like give it more space. And yeah, guys, thanks for watching. That was all. So I hope you have a really good end of the semester. I hope you have get an A or a B at least. And you enjoy. It was a really nice class, and I hope to see you sometime. So take care, and thanks for watching. Bye, Tamara.